A message for my people.
Nick Dad, baby. We the new label.
Yeah. Now this the black sheep sticking its home. I need a crib like I'm Gatsby.
I need it.
In hand, just
Yes, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. Bang, baby. The number one sports betting vibe on the internet. I'm your host, Nick Dais. All things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. Follow the show as you see this lovely graphic right on cue flying. All things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. Like I said, at Nick Dais 10 as you can find me. My dog to the left.
Yes,
Mr.
Nick.
George Carmona.
Dude, when you started the show, and I'm not sure if it's going to make the cut or not, you almost did a Dak Prescott. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah?
You really did. You really did. But instead you said it. All right, here we go. Do you?
Sometimes I wonder when
Dak's rubbing off on you.
when those guys, like the defenses, they don't pick up on those cues.
What? Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But the great ones, like Aaron Rodgers, is so good at right here.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. Dak Prescott does have a very obvious one. That's pretty long. It's actually if you watch Pin and Pool, the podcast that I do with my brother,
Cheap plug.
it's our intro video. It starts off with here we go.
Fuck yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Tell the people what that podcast is about.
So we are uncovering Arkansas football from the eyes of a player on Arkansas, my brother, left tackle. It's his chance to really like embrace that superstar role. I always felt like college football players need to capitalize on the ability to sell their likeness, and he's electric on the microphone. So we started doing this podcast to talk about the games that he has coming up, how he feels about his performances from the week prior, and then we talk about some of the mainly college football news. It's a college football centered show, so I know we don't touch too much college football on this show. So if you are a college football fan and you want to get some insights, check out Pin and Pool. We actually are going to be recording. These are the sacrifices I have to make. 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning is record time for me and him. Because he's got class at 9:30. So gotta put in the time, dude.
You gotta do it, bro. You gotta do it. Whether you like it or not.
Well,
Shit gotta get done.
Dude, you have a coffee at 6 a.m. You're ready to have a conversation by 6:30. I've done this before. I'm a teacher. I know how to get the day going.
If I had the option, I would love to wake up at 7 a.m. every morning. I used to, but then with the schedule change, the shows get filmed later,
Yeah, bro.
having to stay up to edit, things like that, I can't.
Yeah.
You know? And the only reason why I wake up before 9 a.m. now is because my dog wakes me up so I can walk him.
7 a.m. is prime time wake up. The sun's just coming up. You go outside. The air's crisp.
Dude, you just feel more productive, right? Like I find myself sometimes in the past when I would sleep in and wake up at 12, 1 o'clock. This is way, way back in the day before I had any sense of discipline or not being an asshole. Bro, you do one thing and then your day's over.
Mm-hmm.
You go and work out before you know it's 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck happened? But then when you start earlier, right? And I'm not being one of these entrepreneur bros that tell you got to wake up at 4 a.m. No, I did that. It sucked. It's not cool.
Yeah.
It was terrible, but I had to because that was what was required. Now I have the luxury of being able to kind of wake up whenever I want. But for as long as you are awake, if you're productive, that's really all that matters. So if you do wake up at noon and you get mad shit done throughout your day, it's fine. Like, don't listen to these fucking losers that tell you about you gotta wake up and do this and do that at a certain time. It's like, nah, man. Sometimes your schedule. I go to bed at 2:30 in the morning just because I have to now with everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have 1 to 2 days a week where I sleep in. Like tomorrow, for example, Thursday morning, as you guys are watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/veteransminimum. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, wherever you get your podcast, rate, review, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. God, how effortless was that? That was pretty good, man.
Yeah,
that gets me
rolling off the
excited
tongue,
every
man.
now and then. When you're watching this, Thursday is one of those days where I kind of sleep in. And by sleeping in, it's 10.
You're not getting after it, Nick. You're being lazy. You're not focusing on the prize. The prize is being a man of value.
Yeah.
We have people looking in. It was a very awkward to say that as there's ladies outside the window here. It's to Andrew Tatey. Yep.
How nice is this? Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
It's your birthday?
Oh, it's her birthday.
Oh, fantastic. 21. 21.
21, 22.
Yes, very nice.
There we go.
21, yes. You're 21 also.
Wow.
What a way to celebrate.
Nick, what are we doing in here?
You love me. I'm a single 33-year-old stud, so we can figure it out another time.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Enjoy.
He's done at 9 here,
What's up?
so you could just wait.
Are you trying to set me up with your daughter? Is that what you're doing? Oh, a daughter for me. I get the cosign from the mother. What's better than that? God, I love this place so much.
He only does
bro.
package deals.
This is
He wants them both.
Listen, bro. I tell you all the time, we're handsome, dude. I mean, look at us.
Yeah.
Come on, baby.
And it's the lunar
lighting.
eclipse yesterday, so the women are a little Oh, Nick.
Yeah. Let's go.
They're
man.
horny.
That's a good clip. All right. I want to start the show off by showing some love to a fan of the show, someone that's been listening to the show for a very, very long time. And George, what's really dope, man, is podcasting is such a unique and cool space. And you get to network with people, you get to meet people organically, you get people that support you having never met you. And when you have things like a Patreon and they're donating money to you or they're subscribed to your channel, and then through the years, especially when you're building out something, the name sort of resonates. You constantly see that same person tweeting at you or tagging you. When you have 1,000 followers, they stand out, as opposed to when some people, I can imagine, if they have millions of followers, maybe it gets lost in the shuffle, which I would understand, right? Like I was running a celebrity's Instagram page one time, and like the comments and it's just craziness to be able to keep track with everything, right? 100%. So I say all that. I want to revisit the cop situation with Tyreek Hill because we got a really cool perspective, like I said, from someone in the Discord, Crumbs, whose name you hear on the Patreon rundown that we always do. And I'm going to read you what he wrote about this situation. And I think it was really cool. And again, the perspective is dope. He says, I'm a police officer for 4 years and I could give some facts on the Tyreek situation. While there is no legal requirement to roll your window down on a traffic stop, you are required to produce documents, driver's license, insurance, registrations, whatever it might be, which Tyreek did not. Now, granted, the cop didn't ask, so there's that. Additionally, when an officer lawfully orders you out of the vehicle, you are legally required to exit your vehicle. I believe this officer had the legal grounds to order Tyreek out of his vehicle based on Tyreek's demeanor. In my opinion, they prematurely used force in pulling him out of the vehicle, especially since he said he was getting out. Now, there also could be something that we couldn't see on the body cam, such as him reaching for something the officer couldn't see that would lead them to use force in that situation, but that's something we don't know. All in all, this situation was unnecessarily escalated, and both Tyreek Hill and the officer are at fault for all of this speeding and seatbelt situation. I want to say I love this message. I appreciate this message. And I feel like nowadays we have a problem with just saying with anything like, yo, both of them were kind of wrong. Mm-hmm. It has to be one or the other, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's social media. I don't know if it's the power of social media. We seem to be divided on a bunch of shit. And it can never just be like, yeah, I kind of like what they did here, but I don't like that they did this. It's like, whoa, bro, you have to be all in here, all in there, especially like in the politics space, right? Yeah. Like that's a hellhole. I've never talked about politics. First of all, I'm dumb. Don't know much about them. Dude, all I knew was, and to this day, all I know is like Democrats and Republicans. I can't tell you what one stands for or the other. I just ignore it. In the end of the day, when a new person gets elected, I still got to go to work the next day, and I still got shit to do, and no one's going to come save me.
Right.
That's just how I view things, right?
100%.
And I say all that, tying this into this situation with what Crumbs wrote to us, being someone that is an expert in this field, because he is a police officer. It's not someone just yapping about this. This is what he does. This is his career. And I thought it was really interesting, man. And I love what he said, that in this situation, It was unnecessarily escalated, and both Tyreek and the officer are at fault. And it seems like people don't allow you to say that answer. It's one or the other.
Yeah, him being an officer just pretty much cements it in a place for me. Like, he's 100% correct. He would know all the ins and outs as to whether or not it was egregious. And you know what, bro? I just always feel anything with the police officers or like any sort of authority, it always just ends in something negative.
Yeah.
Really negative. And, you know, that's just the unfortunate situation.
And also I want to add to, like we had said when this situation first broke. It's like, bro, how you not know it's Tyreek?
Oh, yeah, he's a Cuban, bro.
Yeah,
he was a Cuban officer.
We went over this. If you guys want to go
27
check that out a couple weeks ago when we were talking about this. Yeah, but shout out to Crumbs, man. And like I said,
it was awesome.
It was a cool message. I'm sorry I got to it late. But yeah, I definitely wanted to show some love to that, and I wanted to talk about that, George.
Yeah, and it's kind of fitting that we get to talk about that because it can lead into Tua being listed as officially out and what that currently means for the Dolphins. I know we have Saquon Barkley at a great number for Offensive Player of the Year. It's kind of worrisome now, or it takes a worry away from us, I should say, that Tyreek Hill doesn't have his quarterback to throw him touchdown passes. See where I'm coming from with that?
Nah, totally, man. Look, you don't wish injury on anyone.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to see that happen, especially a guy like Tua who has battled injury after injury. And dude, you know what else I was thinking about with Tua, bro? Another reason why I feel like this is being magnified is because he's gotten hurt in prime time. Like the Bengals game when he got hurt, the first one, it was a Thursday night football game. And it's the same thing in betting. We talk about the standalone factor. The line moved 2 points in favor of the Titans against the Jets after everyone saw the Jets lose to the Niners. You had all that hype coming in. They lose to the Niners. You have an over adjustment into week 2. Then the Jets cover, right? We always talk about there's not a spot I personally like more in betting. We'll get to it at the end of the show with the picks. Than a good team, what I perceive to be a good team, a real legitimate contender, losing in a primetime spot, the line movement that happens against them. Perfect example, your Saints with the Eagles, 6-point line move, bro.
Oh, I know.
Because you have the Saints winning a 2-game winning streak, and they beat a public team. Yeah, they beat a public team like the Cowboys, and then Philly loses at the buzzer pretty much against the Falcons, and you see it on primetime, right? And to tie it into Tua, we've seen him get hurt in primetime. It's the only thing on TV. And then everyone quickly rushes to conclusions and to make assumptions and say, dude, got to retire. Think about your family. I mean, we've went over that, but I just found it really interesting how that's happened on primetime, and that's why it gets magnified so much. What it means for Tyreek Hill, what it means for the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are toast. I think this eliminates them unless they could stay 500 by the time he comes back. And if he comes back, this is him being ruled out until week 8.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that he'll be able to come back in week 8, especially with now. I can only imagine the heat the Dolphins would take, McDaniels would take, the organization would take if they do trot him out there and then he gets hurt again. Lawsuits, who knows, right? We're not lawyers.
You mean when he gets hurt again? Like, football's a violent game. Even players that have been notoriously healthy throughout the season, they will have games in which they come out for multiple possessions, or potentially the rest of the game, but they'll make it back and they make that reputation. But it would happen again. I want to convince you though that they aren't toast. And I will go back to the reasons that I listed why I felt Tua was an average quarterback. They've built an offense that is easy. And it still has the same amount of speed with or without Tua on the field. Is Skylar Thompson capable of throwing a, 15-yard pass to left right down the line of scrimmage? I think he is. And that he's going to have to get comfortable and confident and extending the ball out to Tyreek Hill on some play action plays. But Nick, don't lose hope. Like, speed kills in the NFL, bro. It is the one thing that has remained consistent. When you watch the Patriots for the past 3 years, what's the one thing that jumps off the page to you? They're slow as shit.
All their skill position players run a 40 as fast as I do.
When you have the speed, you can win ball games.
Yeah.
That was really generous of you, by the way. I've never seen you actually sprint. That would be...
Nah, I was never fast. I was always like a cardio dude. Like when I played, I grew up playing soccer.
Yeah.
I always, when you would watch me, and Jory would understand this because he's a soccer guy. When you watch me the first 5 minutes and then you watch me the last 5 minutes of the game, I look the same.
Yeah,
Like it was because I was never fast. I wasn't explosive. I was quick but slow, if that makes sense. Like speed, 40-yard dash.
Okay, you're using soccer for Jory. He understood that reference.
Okay.
Give your NFL quarterback comparison. Are we talking Peyton Manning?
No, not that slow. I would say
'Cause
probably
he's the
like
same speed.
I'd probably say like Aaron Rodgers. Not now Aaron Rodgers, but like listen, a third and 7, I could scoot and pick up like 12
that's being
yards.
very generous because
Yeah.
I would say that early Aaron Rodgers teetered on the border of fast and explosive.
Yo, you know who I used to model my game after? Or at least try to. Clearly would try to. Tony Romo.
Wow.
Being
now,
like-
that's the best that makes sense.
Like
That
being
comp makes
like
sense.
elusive and footwork in the pocket and being able to move, like shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's a better one than Rodgers.
Wow. Shout out to Tony Romo.
Tony Romo, bro.
Who would have thought he would have got a plug on this show?
Shout out to Tony Romo, man. One of the most he was overrated, but I think his career has aged well that he was underrated. Dude was a Band-Aid for the Cowboys, bro. That team was such a mess if you really look into what they had when he was there and some of the players they would bring in and the character issues. This guy was solid, man. He just couldn't win in the playoffs, which has been the track record for the Cowboys now for almost 30 years. So, yeah, shout out to Tony Romo, man. He was dope.
So we got to this all because of the speed and the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I had to make it about myself because I tend to do that.
No, I told you to make it about yourself.
Yeah.
The offensive player of the year bet, though, like you're feeling confident? Tyreek, at least with the Dolphins, who else would you feel like is worrying you right now that is kind of giving Saquon a run for our money?
So at the moment, the favorite is Saquon Barkley at 7-1, followed by CeeDee Lamb at plus 725.
That's close.
Then you have Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill at 12-1, Nico Collins at 14-1, Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall at 15-1. I'm not going to continue down the list, but those are the top of the names. The player that concerns me the most is CeeDee Lamb. I know he's the one that's tied essentially with Barkley at the top, but the volume's going to be there. For them to be good, it has to run through CeeDee Lamb. Everything has to go through him. Maybe he's the rare exception where he had a career year last year, but he's still young in his career, where maybe that might turn out to be like a down year for him. You don't know how it's going to transpire. Right. But the volume and the targets that he gets, he's the one that I'm the most concerned about. And then if you look down the list, man, you have a lot of guys with injury concerns, right? Now, Tyreek isn't injured, but his quarterback is. Justin Jefferson got banged up. Nico Collins has come out the gates firing, but you also have Tank Dell there. You have Jordan, the tight end. You have Schultz. You have Joe Mixon. Obviously, you have Stephon Diggs. So there's a lot more that you have to worry about on that offense. As far as like CJ Stroud spreading the ball around. So I would say CeeDee Lamb is the one that concerns me the most, man. And on top of that, obviously, he needs to stay healthy throughout 17 games. But, bro, I know he dropped that pass on third down and he put a lot. He basically blamed himself, he being Saquon Barkley, that they lost that game. But, bro, he had another 100 yards from scrimmage. I don't know why they didn't feed him the ball more, because every time he was running the ball in the first half, it looked like he was getting 9 yards a carry, it seemed like. And again, I say this all the time because I don't like shitting on people and saying, yo, you don't know ball. but sometimes people talk and they just don't know ball. It looks the way it does for Saquon with the Eagles because the Giants didn't have that. The Giants had nowhere near the offensive line that Philly has, nowhere near the weapons that Philly has, the scheme, all that. And that's why when he's running the ball, it looks like, holy shit, he's picking up 9 yards a carry. Where in New York, you don't pay him, you let him walk because he was just going to run into his center for 1.8 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And the team isn't a running back away. And yeah, was he the best player on the team? Clearly. But that's why. It doesn't look the same because the team isn't the same. And I'll keep saying this because people are idiots and they just don't understand the simple shit. That's why. One team had a 10.5 win total. The other one had a 6.5 win total for that reason.
And it's the offensive coordinator trying to get a little too cute with it. They have Kellen Moore, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this is something that I've been identifying with a lot of offensive coordinators. They try to get everybody involved early, right? They get it programmed in their head that like everybody needs to rev up at the same time for this offense to be efficient, and you don't have to worry about your receivers becoming divas at halftime saying, hey, bro, throw me the damn ball. When you run the ball well, there's nothing else that you need to do. I that's the one thing that great football teams will identify, and I hope the Eagles start to develop that a little bit more with him. The one player, and I don't know if you still have the odds up, what about Alvin Kamara?
Alvin Kamara actually is the first name after where I stopped.
Okay. All right, because I was about to list off. He almost has 200 yards over these past 2 games. He had rushed for 198. He's got 4 touchdowns. Receiving wise, he's gotten 7 receptions, not 92 yards and a touchdown. So he's got the possibility to have the production level that warrants competing with Barkley. We're going to find out. This is a really big game in terms of how people view the two. Do you see a drastic flip if, let's say, Alvin Kamara goes off and Saquon has a shit game this week?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. That's definitely the game of the week on the slate.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what you said, I think was perfect because that's the game I'm the most excited about. It's Philly and the Saints, and I think it's because it's going to say a lot about both teams. Does Philly bounce back after a primetime loss? Are the Saints legit? They just handled the Cowboys. Now, if they could do that again to another favorite in the conference, now you're like, all right, bro, this is a serious thing. Because we've seen it in the past, right? We were talking about Sam Darnold on the Monday show, how everyone is excited about Sam Darnold. And let's not forget, with the Panthers, he was 3-0. And then I believe they lost 7 or 8 games in a row after that. But during that run, they didn't have no wins like what the Saints might have.
Yeah.
And they're playing extremely well, man. They're playing really well. And Derek Carr is balling. And Kamara, like you said, man, he has 4 touchdowns. And they did this all without Marshawn Lattimore last week, who's their number one.
That was the most impressive part about the entire game. And it's just tough. It's just like there's not been anything bad about this Saints team. And Nick, you and I know better than anybody. Stats don't lie. You can't be perfect all the time. Is this the game where the offense doesn't click for the first half? You maybe get 3 points in the first half. How do you react then when you've gotten officially punched in the mouth? That worries me greatly about the Saints. I've bought in ever since Monday's show. My Saints right now are the scariest team in football, and I've bought into it. But shit, dude. I know how quick it could turn south because they haven't seen bad football yet this year at all.
Yeah, but I think they've handled a good team in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were 2-0 and they played the Panthers and the Giants, I've been all right. You play who's on your schedule. Totally agree. But then it goes back to one of the best calls I ever made, bro. And shouts to Dom, editor Dom. This is when he first started like working with me and cutting up the clips when he was interning. It was when the Ravens played the Pats that year that New England was undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
And they were 3-point favorites in Baltimore. And it was a Sunday night football game. And I remember Lamar Jackson. This is the year Lamar won the MVP.
Yeah, he went crazy that game.
Lamar, primetime slot. Again, the primetime factor, bro. If you have a monster game on primetime, second half of the season, it fucking skyrockets your odds. And I remember saying the Ravens were like plus 130 to win that game. But I said, yo, instead of that, why don't you bet Lamar? Because at the time he was in the conversation for MVP. Bet him at 9-1 for MVP. And then, bam, they beat the shit out of the Pats. He goes on to win MVP. But I bring up that game because they were 8-0, 9-0. And they were playing the then Bengals, like post Andy Dalton or Andy Dalton Bengals. They were playing the Blake Bortles Jaguars. They were playing shitty teams. And you're like, all right, bro, you're 9-0, but you haven't played anyone. Remember Pittsburgh a couple of years ago? They were 11-0 and they played no one good. And you're like, how good is this team?
Right.
So, yeah, you can be undefeated, but it's the same thing in the fight game. You look at a fighter and you say, are they getting old? They're 4-2 in their last 6 fights. But, yeah, he's fought 2 title fights, the number 1 contender, the number 4 contender, and this hot prospect that everyone's been ducking for 4 years. And that's why he's 4-2. It's like who you face and who you beat matters. And when you do play a shitty team, it needs to look like week 1 where they beat the shit out of this shitty team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if you're a Saints fan, you should definitely feel confident, man. And then also if you're an Eagles fan, you got some trends that are not in your favor, man. Jalen Hurts, 1-8 against the spread in his last 9 games. He's now 28-2 against the number in his career.
Oof.
Jalen Hurts, if you look at worst QBs on the money line since December 1st last season, Hurts was 35-14 straight up entering this stretch. Only Bryce Young has a worse record.
Jesus.
1-7 straight up at minus $575 if you were betting the money line of all of Bryce Young's games. Then Jalen Hurts is 2-7 straight up, minus $609. So the Eagles, remember last year they were 11-1, and then he started getting hurt, and they kind of like limped into the playoffs, and they lost in that first round against the Bucks. So it's going to be a banger of a game, man. I'm really excited for this one. The Saints, bro, your Saints, 15 drives with the starters, 15 scores.
Yeah, I know. That's what
They've scored on all 15 of their drives to start games this year.
That's winning the lot. Nick, what would the odds have been on that?
Just bet every drive to be a touchdown and roll it over.
You would have.
That would be fucking crazy, bro.
That's what I'm saying. It's an anomaly. So I don't want to overreact. I have bought into the Saints. Fucking curb your enthusiasm. If they don't play well this week, go back to the NFL preview show and listen to my take then, because it will be extremely accurate if they don't play well. Yeah. I was going to bring up, because I'm thinking of different ways to kind of help formulate my betting mind. What was the highlight that comes to your mind when you think of Saints versus Eagles? Go. Highlight that comes to mind. Saints versus the Eagles.
Wasn't that when Reggie Bush got smoked?
Yes. Okay. So follow me on this theory here.
Okay.
I just struggled to bet on teams that have the highlight not go in their favor. So like every time, like the Saints need to have, maybe this is the game, right? Alvin Kamara like hurdles somebody and it just completely changes.
They also lost with Nick Foles to them in the playoffs where Alshon Jeffrey dropped the pass. That was the same year that the Jared Goff Rams Saints play happened.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, continue.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think about that for all these different games. I'm like, what is the biggest highlight that I remember from these two teams? I don't know, take it into consideration.
Yeah, I also feel like that was, 15, 20 years ago?
It doesn't matter.
It might have been, not 20, but it might have been like 17 years ago.
So maybe that's what I'm banking on. Maybe if the Saints could have a highlight play, then this is just going to be a long run. I'm worried also about the Saints playing them so early in the year. I feel like the Saints play the Eagles better in like December in Philly. Like that's a Saints trap game my favorite spot for them to be in. But yeah.
Well, this was a segment that we kind of had planned, and I figured like we can maybe start with. Let's start with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. And I want to ask you this, and fans, I would love for you guys to chime in. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about this. Let us know in this video, because I am going to do a cut down of this. The name of this segment, George, is called Are You Happy?
Okay.
And what it is the fans of this team, are you happy with either your quarterback or the direction your team is going in?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be interesting to start that conversation with Jalen Hurts. Do you think Eagles fans are happy that Jalen Hurts is their quarterback?
Yes. I do think Eagles fans are happy because a couple things. One, he's a gamer, meaning that when the going gets tough, he's not a dude that's going to throw his helmet. He's going to, make sure that he can rally the guys around him. He comes in with great aura. And he's led them in big games to, drives that people would never have expected from him. So he's got like the fourth quarter clutch gene. I would be very happy if I was an Eagles fan and I had Jalen Hurts. He's kind of like a all around package when it comes to a mobile quarterback. What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely be happy if Jalen Hurts was my quarterback. And if you got to remember, bro, we were talking to Wayne about this with Dak Prescott, and I think it also applies to Jalen Hurts. There's no red flags with his character. There's no issues with him catching DUIs, catching any domestic shit. Like, there's no headache. If you're the owner, you sleep comfortable knowing, all right, my quarterback's not a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Right? All right. He doesn't always, maybe he has a couple blunders. He fumbled in the Super Bowl, even though he scored 3 touchdowns and he played his ass off. Yeah, sometimes on the field, there's some issues. But overall, the team rallies behind them. There's no off-the-field shit you got to worry about. Like, bro, how many times have we talked about quarterbacks, especially the one in Cleveland, where you got to worry about crazy shit going on? And I think that's what happened. When you're giving someone $250 million, yeah, I want a background check.
Yeah.
I think that's
We're going to have to make
assessment.
sure this investment is stable.
Yeah. I don't want no headaches. I don't want you're getting into fights at the bars. You're spitting on people or doing any wild shit.
Going into the bathroom with girls.
Yeah, no Ben Roethlisberger stuff. None of that. Like, this is what goes into you being a franchise quarterback. It's not only your play on the field. I think that's why you see some of these guys get these contracts and you're like, yo, that's asinine. Yeah, but also he's not a headache. And I think that goes into it, especially when you're given this kind of number. And look, in his career, he's 35-18. He's been to a Super Bowl. Ever since he's been the starter, he's brought stability to that position. And, he's a $50 million a year quarterback. One of many now in the league. I'd be happy with him, man. And I think there's even though there's some beef between like Sirianni and him, or like how people feel about Sirianni, I think I'd be very content with Jalen Hurts being my quarterback.
100%. Can I hit you with another one?
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew and the Raiders.
Ooh.
How do you feel about Minshew mania? Denim shorts, America, long hair. Max Crosby yelling at him. How do you feel about it? How do you feel the fans feel about it?
Yo, for a year, I'm cool with it.
Right. Okay.
I think for a year.
It's like studying abroad.
Yeah. You want the experience. You want Minshew mania.
Yeah.
You want a roller coaster? He's going to give you one. Because he'll get streaky. He's done it in the past. He did it with the Jaguars, where he'll light it up, man. He'll play well. There's always been a sort of tail of the tape between his tenure with the Jaguars through, I don't know exactly how many games, but let's just say hypothetical just for this to make sense. His 30 games as a starter with the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence's 30 games. Remember, that's who they got rid of to draft Trevor Lawrence. There's a lot of green check marks in the tail of the tape for Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
And he's not the flashy guy. He's a late round pick. and it's something I've always talked about. When you're a lottery pick in the NBA, or you're a first round pick in the NFL, GMs look at you like the hot girl at the bar, and they're like, I can fix her.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know she was one time this prized possession.
Yeah.
She was a lottery pick. He was a first round pick. So there's a lot of green flags there. And you'll get opportunity after opportunity. When you're a fifth round pick, when you're a second round pick, an undrafted guy, it's easier for teams to be like, it didn't work out in the Saints because he was undrafted. That's why. So let's cut ties with them a lot sooner. And that's why you see a lot of guys constantly get opportunities, bro. And then before you know it, they've been on so many different teams because they were once a first round pick. Like I used to talk about Eric Flowers. Eric Flowers was a first round pick with the Giants, off the team after 2 years. And then he went to Miami. Then he went to Washington. He kept getting opportunities because other GMs would be like, oh, he was once that hot girl at the bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me fix her.
And I love that analogy. I think with Minshew, it kind of comes to his lineage too, dude. Mike Leach was his coach at Washington, and they did nothing but throw the ball 60 times a game, or at Washington State, I should say. So I love it when quarterbacks come from gunslinger college type programs. It fits right into, the NFL and big time moments, being able to hit out routes that I would say that's the most difficult route to throw in the NFL. And he's starting to find a rhythm with Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams. It's really not hard. Like you just need to find them as many times as possible. We saw it this last week. It worked out for him. I think it's going to be the same situation against the Carolina Panthers this week.
I found the graphic, by the way, I was talking about.
How similar is it?
So, and at the time you're watching this, it's going to pop up right now. And as you see it, Gardner Minshew has thrown more TD passes and less interceptions than Trevor Lawrence during their NFL careers. 49 games played, 37 games started for Gardner Minshew, 59 touchdowns to 24 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence in 50 games played, 50 games as a starter, 58 touchdowns, 39 interceptions. One guy is the dime piece, the hometown queen.
Yep.
The other one is Katie from down the block.
Yeah. 2 a.m. booty call.
Yeah. Call her late at night. She'll pick up. You'll handle your business.
Right.
But you're not bringing her home.
Correct.
And this is what happens, man. One guy keeps getting opportunity after opportunity, even though maybe he might not be it. And look, they're 0-2 so far to start off the year. And I'm a Trevor Lawrence guy. I think a lot of the issues are not fully him.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about on the Monday show, if you have a shit offensive line, bro, it's bad. It's not going to be good. And it's going to look bad. And how about this? Let me ask you about him. He's a perfect candidate for this. I don't know if we had him on the list, but he's a perfect candidate for this. How do you feel Jaguars feel about Trevor Lawrence? Now, I want you also to factor in, which is very important when you're talking about this. You're now getting $250 million. It's no longer you're on the rookie contract. It's cool. If you're struggling, it's fine. We'll build a team around you. Now it's not, man. You're about 20% of our cap in a salary cap sport, if not more. I think it's like 23% to be exact. So how do you think Jaguars fans, all 25 of them, feel about Trevor Lawrence?
Oh my God. I like how we've been, or how you use relationships, because I really do think it's a good way to correlate what has happened. When they lost to the Chargers the way they did in that playoff game.
No, they won it.
Or when they won that game, I think it was I don't know, realizing that, oh my God, we have found one. But then you realized afterwards that she'd been cheating on you, because not to be able to perform that following week and kind of crumble back down to reality, I think has set the Jaguars fans into this place where they know they're stuck with him. They got married and things were really good. The wedding day was them coming back against the Chargers, and then everything after then, downhill.
Man, there's a lot there that I agree with, but gotta remember, man, they were 8-3 last year, and then this dude got hurt. And I think the conversation is so much different if he doesn't get hurt, and then they go 11-6, and then maybe they win the division, and we don't feel as high on the Houston Texans like we do now because they're still there. Let's not forget, bro, after that playoff game that they lost to the Chiefs, they were one of the 4 best teams left in the AFC based on that. They had the massive comeback.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're saying to yourself, dude, this team is up and coming. That's why they were my division winner this year, because I couldn't forget that. And I'm like, yo, their quarterback got hurt. That's why they struggled last year, and that's why they played as bad as they did. So I think now it goes back to they're trying to build around him. They spent the first round pick on Brian Thomas out of LSU. They have Christian Kirk that they paid big money to bring in, which at the time you're like, yo, that's a lot of money for Christian Kirk. And then he was productive last year. Dude was getting like 11 targets a game, it felt like. And he was his guy in the red zone. And they spent the first round pick on the running back he had in Clemson with him, and Travis Etienne. But the offensive line is still bad. And man, he has these like highlight runs sometimes. Like it looks like he's back in Clemson, and then he just does some dumb shit after. I remember the Ravens game last year on Monday Night Football. They were getting like 7.5 points, and the game was covered. And then he could have been investigated for point shaving the way he was
on the
playing
1 yard line.
Yeah, it was inside the red zone. He just had 2 turnovers. So it's weird, man. I just think that a lot of these guys that are on this list and a lot of quarterbacks, their offensive line is really bad. And if you love Pat Mahomes, and I love Pat Mahomes, I already think he's the greatest quarterback to ever live. Shout out to him. It's his birthday today. He just turned 29.
Hey, yo.
I think you look at that Super Bowl when they played the Bucs and he was missing 3 starters. That's what it looks like when you have the greatest quarterback of all time there, and he has a bad offensive line. He couldn't get through it. So imagine when you're not Pat Mahomes and you're everyone else. Because we've established here on this show, this is Mahomes, and then the conversation starts here with everyone else.
Yep.
There is a wide margin between the best quarterback on the planet and Mahomes and then everyone else. And if you want to put Burrow, you want to put Dak, you want to put Josh Allen, whoever you want to put there's a wide margin between the two. And even he struggled when he had a shit offensive line. So I want to add some context to this conversation because I think Jaguars fans are frustrated with Trevor Lawrence because it should be better.
Yeah.
You were a can't miss prospect. You do a lot of shit that impresses people, but then you also do a lot of dumb shit that makes people angry. And that's what I think Jaguars feel about Trevor Lawrence, because that's what I feel.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, the leash gets shorter and shorter and shorter, the more you don't win games. And this is a you must make the playoffs year for the Jags. And if that doesn't happen, then I think Trevor Lawrence will start being looked at as maybe the issue. And better than most people, it's not always that situation, right? You highlighted the offensive line there, and that's probably what's going to be the great demise. Situations are situational. I think we can kind of agree. It's just frustration from the Jaguars. How do you think Bears fans feel about Caleb Williams after the first couple of games? Do you feel like they're happy? First game throws for less than 100 yards. Second game, I mean, it just seemed like he was running around all night. That offensive line was dog shit. So we'll just already kind of start the slate there.
I'm concerned about all the rookie quarterbacks. Not one of them that started week 1 has thrown a touchdown yet.
Whoa.
They've thrown no touch. Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels,
Caleb Williams.
I believe that's it.
That is it. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's all the rookies have not thrown a touchdown through the first 2 weeks. That's a little concerning. Because some of them are playing from behind and they still haven't thrown touchdowns.
Yeah.
Where teams are just begging you for the game to end and they're not tackling anyone. Now, Jaden Daniels, at the moment, him and Marvin Harrison Jr. are tied for Offensive Rookies of the Year odds. He has rushed a lot. He scored on the ground. And people are excited about him. But it's concerning when you're the quarterback and you haven't thrown a passing touchdown yet. So I'm concerned about all of them, man. And then you had the incident on Sunday Night Football where CJ Stroud is getting heat from some people. I don't know if you've seen this, but people are saying that he kind of like little broed Caleb Williams.
Oh, he definitely little broed.
You think
Caleb
he did?
Williams. Bro, they're the same age. Doesn't matter if it's your first year. That was
No. So I disagree there, bro, because I totally disagree. And I'll give you a perfect example. In jiu-jitsu, there's dudes that I'm 33 years old. There's dudes that are younger than me, some by like a decade, and they're brown belts.
Mhm.
They're black belts. Not black belts, but they're brown belts. Like my buddy Corey, for example. Kid's been training for less than 4 years. He's a brown belt. Kid eats, sleeps, shits jiu-jitsu. He's at the gym all the time. He's 22. I'm 33. He little bros me in jiu-jitsu, and like he's one of my coaches.
Yeah.
So like I don't think age has to do. I think it's time and experience.
Yeah,
in the
it's
craft.
confidence, but it's also like he told Caleb Williams, don't get hit like that. Like I don't know, the way that conversation took place, it just felt like Caleb Williams should have been like, don't tell me how to play football. You know? Like I don't know. And CJ Stroud, master of the moment right there, because he knows that all the cameras are on that interaction right there. He pulled him in close. He did the Donald Trump handshake. Boom. Come here. You're with me now. Don't take that hit. Don't take those hits. And from CJ,
you gotta learn to do the bro. You gotta
yeah. You got to do the LeBron where the
yeah.
This is.
I know the audio guy Jory hates this that we're doing this, but just for visual purposes, bro. Make sure you don't slide like that. This way no one could. You have professional people that are doing lip reading and shit, and then they're breaking things out of context.
Yeah, I mean
So the reports were that CJ Stroud came out and said, I wasn't trying to little bro him. And I don't think he's little bro. I think he's giving him.
It's great that he had to even answer that. Isn't that amazing?
That's social media now, man.
It is.
Everyone's talking about it that, you little broed him. It's like, nah, man, I'm trying to give this guy some advice because I've been here for a year. Even though we're the same age. That's why I think, that's why I really think it's experience. At least for me, as I've gotten older, like how I've told you, I don't know if I've told you, but what I think is the best advice that I could give anyone, and like I haven't heard this anywhere else, but I view people that are older than me as a cheat code and a time machine.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they have experienced life more, and I'm not talking about from a job standpoint. I just mean life. So when someone is 10 years older than me, they have 10 more years of life, and they have more experiences than me. When they tell me, hey man, at your age, I wish I would have been married already. Hey, at your age, I wish I would have bought my first house by your age. Hey, I wish I would have saved more money because I started saving money at 38 as opposed to 33. I view that as like a time machine, bro. They're giving me free game from the future. And if I respect them, and I always respect my elders, that's how I was born and raised. Like, people that are older than you, you show your respect to the OGs. And that's just how I've always been. So like the best advice that I've ever gotten is kind of like, that I tell people is, listen to the people older than you. It's literally a cheat code. And I say that because it's experience, not so much age, even though I did say age here. I'm saying it's the experience. So he's been in the league for a year, and he was a top pick. He wasn't the number one pick, but he was a top pick. And he's telling them, hey, man, I took some of these hits last year. You don't want to be RG3 where your career ended after your rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be a Russell Wilson who, when he was with Seattle, bro, dude never got popped. He knew how to slide when he had to. He would just do the wide receiver shit. When the wide receiver catches a pass and looks around and he just collapses.
Yeah.
And you always immediately think, oh shit, did they blow out a knee? Because sometimes they just abruptly
And they
drop.
stay there for a second?
They stay there for a second. Yeah, but they just do that to protect themselves. And that's what I think CJ Stroud was saying. I don't think he was trying to little bro him. It did come off that way, but I think his response was genuine. And
CJ Stroud could never little bro anybody. He seems like the most low key guy in the world. It doesn't seem like CJ. Like I would love to see CJ Stroud get in somebody's face. You know, that would fire me up because he's so even keel. He's low key. You know, him doing this right here, he's got to run with it.
Yeah,
that's plus aura points for CJ Stroud. Son Caleb Williams on primetime television.
CJ Stroud, you think Texans fans should be happy with him?
Nope. No, bro, come on.
Yeah.
We don't want to cover the obvious.
No, we're not covering the obvious.
But
let me ask you this one.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins.
After last night, I'm pleased. Here's the thing. If they run this the way that they should, Michael Penix will win them a Super Bowl in 4 years. 4 to 5 years. Like, that's the way I see this playing out. I see this is a Kirk Cousins-led team for the next 2 years. They want to see the rookie come in because now he's developed, for 2 years underneath a relatively, what will go down as a solid quarterback in the NFL. If I'm a Falcons fan, I'm happy. But Kirk just can't be Kirkin sometimes. Like, had they not won that game yesterday and they fall, I don't know. I think it's hit the panic button. It was definitely a huge win on Monday night for the Falcons.
You bring up something really interesting that I always find funny when you see Pat Mahomes sat for the first year, Aaron Rodgers sat for multiple years, Jordan Love sat for multiple years. When I first got into football, quarterbacks didn't play right away. It was around the Cam Newton, Andrew Luck. I think it was the Andrew Luck class in 2012. You had 5 rookies starting.
Mm-hmm.
You had Russell Wilson. You had Ryan Tannehill. You had Brandon Weeden. Remember Brandon Weeden with the Browns? One of the 27 quarterbacks on that iconic Browns jersey. You had Robert Griffin III with the then Redskins, and then you had Andrew Luck. I think that kind of the impact that those guys had right away, with the exception of Brandon Weeden, everyone started saying, when I draft a quarterback in the first round, if he don't play year one, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think everything is made the same. I don't think every first round quarterback is the same. Pat Mahomes was a first round quarterback. So was Mitchell Trubisky. One got thrown into the fire, and he's been on 7 different teams since then. And the other one is the best quarterback to ever live. And yeah, the infrastructure with the Chiefs. You had Kelsey, you had Hill, you had Andy Reid, you had Eric Bieniemy. Way different scenario. Again, situation, we talk about this where you get drafted matters so much. It's the same thing in the NBA, bro. These guys get drafted at 18, 19 years old, and then if they don't pan out by year one, you're like, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, people are frustrated.
He's still a teenager.
Yeah.
So I think this idea of letting guys play, like I think Michael Penix, it's weird because I didn't agree with the pick for the Falcons. Because when you sign a Kirk Cousins, it's kind of a win now mode because he's 35, 36 years old. But I get it for building the future. It also makes sense there too. And I think you just got to give some people time. And I know you were sending me this clip that Tom Brady had because he was talking about how college football has changed. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah.
I know you were pretty fired up.
Brady was so on point with this. He was talking about how quarterbacks developed in a program in college. So now there's just college teams. With the transfer portal, these kids are hopping in and out. You have some quarterbacks that have stayed for 7 years. As a matter of fact, this upcoming week in college football, there's a game between Utah and Oklahoma State with 2 quarterbacks that were in the 2018 high school draft class or selection class. Like Micah Parsons was in that class. CJ Stroud was in that class. And it's 2 quarterbacks that are going to be starting year 7 at their program. Very rare, and I'm excited to see when Cam Rising and I'm blanking on the other guy's name right now, when they come out and how they're treated, because Stetson Bennett was old as shit too, coming out of Georgia. He's now sat 2 years on the bench behind Matt Stafford. Shocker, right? I mean, it's a great person to sit behind, but Stetson Bennett might not see the field for the next 2 years, I say all this because Brady was elaborating on quarterbacks need time. Players need time. Football is a game in which you need to learn and fall in love with all the facets and the fundamentals. And a lot of those get skipped when you're trying to win games now in college. And that was coming right out of Tom Brady's mouth. I texted Nick. I was like, wow, this is so on point. All these rookie quarterbacks fucking suck. And it makes perfect sense as to why they do. They're not in a system or in a program that develops them the way that they need to be developed.
I totally agree with you. And I think we also need to remember most of these guys are 21, 22 years old. and they're being thrown millions of dollars, whether it's in the NBA as lottery picks, whether it's these quarterbacks coming out. And then I've said this so many times. You got to let them fuck up. Reasonable, right?
Mhm.
Now, there's different levels of fucking up.
Yeah.
I want my quarterback year one, throw the interceptions, throw it into triple coverage. Show me you got balls that you're trying to pick up a first down, and on 3rd and 8, you're not checking it down to your running back that could potentially be a backwards pass, and then the ball is live if he drops it.
Right.
I want you to make those mistakes. I don't want you to be seen at the nightclub until 4 a.m. Like, there's different levels to fuckery that I'm cool with dealing with. I'm 33 years old. I hope one day, the way things are progressing, the numbers that I have in my head, I'm going to obtain them because I'm very persistent and I'm very confident in everything I do. If I get thrown $20 million, George, I'm going to do some dumb shit. I'm flying out a lot of my friends to either Brazil or to Colombia. We're going to have a good time. Right? In the past, I used to be like, yo, I'm going to fly everyone to Vegas, but now I'm in Vegas.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do some dumb shit. And I'm a 33-year-old.
Mhm.
Can you imagine if you're 21 or 20 years old and you sign a $200 million contract? You can take care of generations.
Mhm.
And then the reports come out, oh, George Carmona spent $5 million on cars and jewelry. It's like, yeah, you're going to do some dumb shit, bro.
Mhm.
And I tie that into sports and to quarterbacks. These guys, Caleb Williams, 22, Bryce Young. Bo Nick's a little older.
Mhm.
But the lottery picks in the NBA, it's like, bro, these dudes are young. They're going to do some dumb shit. They're going to fuck up. They're not going to be ready. Maybe the path is, hey, sit behind a starter.
Yeah.
Sit behind a vet and let them show you the ropes.
And it's this win now, we must win now culture that is absolutely killing the league. And it's killing franchises because they think that they have to fall into the status quo. You know how tough it would be, Nick, to run a organization and not follow what other organizations are doing. 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round this year. I'm sure that when Atlanta was at its spot, they were running through the situation. And sometimes, bro, it really is like monkey see, monkey do. Nobody has the nuts to say, this is actually what we wanted to do because we do have a winning plan in place. And out of the 6 quarterbacks, so like you said, only 3 of them are starting games. And, I'm excited to see the difference. This is going to be a great draft class for us to see what happens when you have a little bit of polishing behind the scenes and what happens when you're thrown into the fire.
And I want to remind people that Daniel Jones' first start in the NFL was against the Tampa Bay Bucks. And in that game, he overcame a 18-point first half deficit. And he threw for 4 touchdowns. And now how we feel about Daniel Jones. So, woosah, chill.
Yeah.
Let shit develop. Things are going to take time. Let it develop. And let shit play out the way it's supposed to play out. All right, last 2. Justin Fields and the Steelers.
Bro, I am so in love with the way that the Steelers have been playing football. Great defense. And with Justin Fields at the helm, it gives the Steelers something that, bro, who was the running quarterback behind Big Ben that they had for a while? I'm blanking on his name right now, but it was like the last time that you ever saw speed from the quarterback position in Pittsburgh. It's
Dennis Dixon?
Yeah, he was the old Oregon quarterback. Yep. I'm pretty sure it was him. But anyways, this style of offense I like a lot. They have a embarrassment of average riches with him and Russell Wilson. It really should be how do Steeler fans feel about both of them? How could you not like it? He's 2-0, Nick. At least for right now, even though they're not scoring touchdowns, he's really not playing like crazy bad. And so yeah, I'm happy if I'm the Steelers. Because even if it goes wrong, I can put in Russ.
Yeah.
They're in a good spot.
I think they've built their team where it's all defensive. And like, bro, I think he goes from Chicago where they didn't want him to now he's with Pittsburgh, and they've said that it's going to be week to week, but they're not turning to Russ yet. I think you let him play there. I think the infrastructure with Tomlin, and then they have the defense where they're like, yo, bro, just can you pick up a couple of third downs with your feet so we're not out there for 80 plays? Like, let us rest, or for 40 minutes, time of possession.
It's big.
Yeah. And I think, look, they're 2-0. It's a 1-year deal, prove it deal. Maybe you could get him for cheap if he's like stable enough. Maybe you pay him $30 million a year for a couple of years. And he's excited, man. When he gets going, like, bro, you got to remember this guy lit up a couple teams last year. And when it's on, it's on, and it looks good, man. I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson by any means, but bro, there's some flashes where you're like, yo, this guy could ball. This guy could ball. And then like there's a couple of teams that have major questions on their front office, and fans will be pissed off at. Chicago being one of them. If Caleb ends up not turning out to what they thought, and then Justin Fields continues to ascend in his career here with Pittsburgh, and then obviously Bryce Young with Carolina. And it's funny how all three are sort of intertwined with one another, because the Panthers traded the pick to get Bryce Young. Then the Bears traded Justin Fields because they were getting Caleb Williams. So there's like a love triangle between the three organizations and the three quarterbacks.
Football, right? Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
And I think it's important, man, that where you end up going, we say that all the time. It matters a lot. So maybe he's found a home here, and they appreciate him and they like him. And yo, he's still young, bro. He's 25. Yeah, he's 25 years old. 60.7 completion percentage he's had.
A lot of NFL experience too.
Yeah.
He's seen a good deal of football to make me feel comfortable and confident in his abilities.
And yo, around the same yards per carry with Lamar. He has 1,641 rushing yards on the ground. Lamar has close to 4,000 rushing yards. Lamar also has 3 more seasons than him. So I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson. And I know a clip went viral of Deshaun Jackson. He has a podcast with Shady McCoy. He was saying that he's like, yo, they're the same quarterback. I wouldn't go that far. One guy does have 2 MVPs, and there's no sign of him not being a franchise quarterback. The other guy's on his second team in 4 years. So that's...
And has been benched.
Yeah,
has been benched. Play.
Yeah. So let's not get too crazy. Though I like the attempt, and it was very clickbaity, and it makes sense. But I think if you're Pittsburgh, you're content, right? You have some mobility at quarterback. It's better than what you've had the last couple of years. And,
way better.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Night and day.
Night and day. Yeah. And just the excitement level, too. And he's winning so far. They're winning.
TJ Watt's winning so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other quarterback you want to mention?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious one. Deshaun Watson and the Browns.
No, I think you're miserable if you're the Browns. Like, they need to.
He has to take them to the AFC Championship game, and Browns fans will forget.
Bro, I just think he needs to not play the way he did week 1, and he needs to play. We were singing his praises last year when they played the Ravens and they beat them in Baltimore. He played a very good game, and you're like, oh shit,
yeah.
Is that Deshaun from Houston?
Mm-hmm.
You need that. You need to at least see that guy is still there on a consistent basis. Not this one game every 7 that you play well. That's why it's stability, bro. Whether it's on or off the field. And we know off the field it ain't that stable. But on the field, no, I don't think you're happy if you're the Cleveland Browns.
If he played like he did last week, I don't know. They're gonna fall in love with him. What if he becomes the icon, bigger than LeBron in Cleveland? Who knows?
I mean, bro,
if he wins 2 Super Bowls, he's a bigger icon in Cleveland than LeBron.
So here's the thing: you say he played
That's
well, right?
Fact.
He had 186 yards throwing.
He looked confident and comfortable and on time. And yeah, sure, the numbers aren't gaudy, but like, it's winning football. So,
man, I think he had another kind of mediocre performance last week. I know he scored one on the ground. An NFL executive.
Damn, I really blanked on what I was about to say about him.
An NFL executive said to Sports Illustrated, I don't think he, meaning Watson, is going to be able to turn it around in Cleveland. I don't think he's going to be able to turn it around anywhere. It's disappointing after what he showed in Houston and the talent and potential he was showing. But that version of Deshaun, I believe, is gone, long gone. His confidence is completely gone. Bro, when you lose your confidence, dude, you see it in the fight game a lot.
Isn't it crazy that losing his confidence is still that stat line that you just said, though, in the NFL? That's what I'm like. There's no other NFL player right now getting more criticism and hate over the last 3 years than him. And he still comes out and he performs, bro.
He doesn't perform. That's the problem. It's got mediocre performances, I just told you. 22 of 34, underwhelming, 186 yards on the ground. And I think it's warranted why he's getting this hate. Like, let's not get it twisted.
Of course.
A lot of the hate is for his antics off the field, which is why I go back to what we opened the show with. One of the reasons why you get paid $200 million from companies is they want to be able to go to sleep and know that there's not going to be no issues. And with him, there's issues off the field that seems like every couple weeks, more and more reports come out about it. And then you also have the performances are subpar. And remember what I said on the preview show with Caleb Williams. I don't mind the crying on the sideline to his mom and wanting to chill with his dog. I'm a dog owner. I love little Darce. I want to be with him too. However, you're going to get criticism if you're not playing well. The paint the nails, the outfits, the crying on the sideline, he might be soft or whatever it might be. If you're throwing 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every week and your team is 2-0 at this point and you're on fire and you're the talk of the town, you know who's not going to care about all those antics? Bears fans and the Chicago Bears. They'll be like, yo, bro, do your thing.
Yeah.
It don't matter. But when it's piss poor performances like what Watson is having, and speaking about Watson in particular, yeah, you're going to get backlash, bro. So all this heat that he's been getting the last 3 years has been self-inflicted. It's heat because he asked for that heat.
Yeah, but because I know it keeps sounding like I'm defending him. It's just crazy to be that publicly hated and still go out there and perform and have a team, bro, that, you know, like, people are saying that team rallies around him more than people would think. You know, like, it's sure you have to, but us as public, it's very tough to separate your outside public perception and then what actually happens in the facility and what you do work wise. It could pan out. Like, right. It could pan out. Yeah. And I'm just saying, don't be fucking shocked and, you know, keep that same energy. Cleveland, if he wins a Super Bowl and you were clowning on him for being a mad piece of shit, like, okay, don't start buying his fucking jerseys.
Yeah, and yo, that happens too, man. Winning solves everything.
Mm-hmm.
When you win, bro, I've told the Bill Parcells story with Lawrence Taylor. Yo, the bus leaves at 10 a.m. That's an original cocaine cowboy right there, bro.
Facts.
Stories you heard about that dude in New York, even the 86 Mets team that won the World Series, like, those dudes are fucking, talk about PEDs. They're fucking seeing the baseball just all locked up. Like, see that fucking corner
this
slider.
It looks like a watermelon.
Yeah. Like, you don't think those were PEDs? The cocaine era of fucking sports and life in the 80s and early 90s? Yeah. So maybe it's we're going to wait to see what happens with all this, but that stuff also is a reason why certain antics are allowed and some aren't, because you're winning.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest defensive player of all time, yeah, if you want to get rowdy until 4 a.m. the night before a game, cool, because you perform on the field. And if you perform on the field, or if you perform in anything, bro.
Yeah.
I've told you the story about my customer.
Yes.
Where I kind of snitched on him.
Yeah, you did.
But yo, for those that are listening and are new to the show, shout out to all the new listeners that we've had. Growth has been amazing for the show. Continue to support. It means a lot. But I was working at the coffee truck, right? And I'll never forget this. It kind of like put my life in perspective, and it made me understand like a lot of shit. The main thing is to get shit done. I had a customer, he would show up every single morning, no exaggeration, at 7 a.m. on the dot. Because a lot of my customers, I'd see them, I'm like, oh, George is here. It's 5:45. Jory's here. It's 8 o'clock. Like they're just because it's a very
People are creatures of habit.
creatures of habit. Yes, exactly. This one guy would show up hammered every morning at 7 a.m. His boss ended up coming right after him, and they said hi to him and whatnot. And the guy leaves, right? And just for this story, let's just call him Mike. The guy's name was Mike. Mike leaves, and I'm talking to his boss, and I'm like, yo, I'm 20 at the time, 21. I'm like, Mike is always like tossing him back. He goes, dude, I hate it. He's like, he's hammered every meeting. He embarrasses us in meetings, but he's my top guy. He's my top seller. I don't know what it is. He just gets things done. Tied into sports. You could do all the dumb shit you want, but if you show up and you're winning, it covers up. It's a sad reality. And it's also with talented people, dude.
Yeah.
Talented people. Mike Vick did horrible shit to dogs. When he came out of jail, $100 million contract because he was talented and people gave him chances.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same thing that happened with Plaxico Burress. He shot himself, cost the Giants a Super Bowl. When he got out of jail, he got another opportunity. It's because you're talented. And when you're talented, people will give you chances. Kareem Hunt, the same thing. He had that horrible video surface. He got cut. Bam. Ray Rice, that video surfaces, but dude was towards the tail end of his career.
Yeah, it was also an example.
It was an example, yeah. Like we're putting our foot down and we're not letting that shit happen. So if you're talented and you're winning, people are gonna put up with your shit. It's a sad reality, but it's also the truth. Okay, week 3 picks.
Week 3 picks.
All right, I want to do a Patreon rundown before we do. Big ups to the members of the Patreon. We are at 75 paid members, trying to get 100 by some point during the football season. And speaking of which, patreon.com/veterans minimum. We got Daniel Gibson, Mahul Patel, Abel Rezin, Ben Kotzian, Christopher Velasquez, Derek Platees, Dylan Chadwick, Jerry Shapiro, Jordan Riley, Mike Stevens, Nick Crummich, shouts to Crumbs earlier in the show, and Thomas Robinson, and of course, Alan Carafa for joining the Patreon. Patreon.com/veterans minimum. All right, George. Week 3 picks.
Week 3 picks.
Can I give you some interesting betting trends?
I was about to
start?
Hit me with the trends so that way I can know if I need to change my picks.
Okay, so
it's like I ain't changing shit, Nick. Your trends mean nothing to me.
I love it. Because last week I gave you a trend on the Carolina Panthers, and once again they didn't cover. So yeah. Trends are only meant to sort of give you some context and information. They're not always the be-all, end-all. Some trends mean more than others. In division trends, when you have the same quarterback, same team, same coach, I think those mean more than when a trend pops up. Hey, the Chargers and the Giants are playing. The Chargers have beaten them 3 straight times. Well, they've also played 3 times in 12 years because they don't play each other often. Whereas a Cowboys-Eagles trend, that means a little bit more. Yeah, Jalen Hurts maybe against the number is 7-1 against the spread when playing them. Like Chargers-Chiefs, for example. Justin Herbert covered 80% of the games against the Chiefs. That's significant. It's the same, well, not same coach, but you got the quarterback, you have the same coach and head coach on the quarterback and head coach on the other side. So like some trends, not all trends are made equally is what I'm trying to get at. So I do want to make a correction on what I said on the Monday show. I said that only 3 of 21 teams have made the playoffs after starting 0-2 since this new iteration of 14 playoff teams, 7-7. It's actually 2. It was only the Texans last year and the Bengals 2 years ago. The Colts are the only other team to go above 500 after starting 0-2. I said that they made the playoffs in 21. That was not true. They went above 500, and they actually started 0-3 that year. So just wanted to clear that up. Going back to 1990, a year before the boy was born, only 32 of 279 teams, 11.5%, start 0-2 but still made the playoffs, and only 3 of them went on to win the Super Bowl. And while we have an extra game, George, and a long season, there is more time to rebound. It's also more time for the top teams to stay at the top.
Right.
And public betting, where 51% of the tickets are on one side this year against the number 11, 20, and 1 against the spread, with a better of $100 each bet, would be down close to 1,000 American dollars. That's the second worst start for the public through 2 weeks since 2003.
It's an epidemic, bro. This is like literally how the stock market must have felt. I was too young. I was in first grade when the stock market crashed. This is the equivalent. Yeah. I'm in a fucking contest where I pay $1,000 to join. I'm picking big favorites and I'm getting my ass kicked. But this is it just happened to be the Great Depression this year for big favorites.
Yeah, it's been rough, but we have said one thing that we've been able to point out on this show. When it's a wild favorites week, it bounces back. When it's a wild public week, it bounces back. And sometimes it might not be this week. And I'm not saying this as a hedge, but there's going to be a massive, the sports book's fucking cleaned up.
Yeah.
Right? When underdogs win, just know it's a rough day for the sports books. Because no sports bettor loves this scenario more than that plus number on a team.
Oh, my God.
And when they win outright, already previewing the Monday Night Football game, it's the Commanders and the Bengals. One sportsbook coordinator said it would be a catastrophic day for the books if the Bengals cover this game.
The way you read that was hilarious. It would be a catastrophe.
To me,
it's like Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. So to me, Ursulita is the Commanders this week.
Wow.
Plus 7.5. It's a must-win game for the Bengals. They have to win this game. They're at home, Monday Night Football. And look, you have 60% of the bets are coming in on the Bengals, while 60% of the money is coming in on the Commanders. 7.5 points. That hook is deadly. And I think the Bengals still don't look right, even though I liked how they looked against Kansas City. They should have won that game, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
Ursulita this week is the Commanders. The 7.5. There is no way, bro, I'm playing the Bengals. I could even say that.
Absolutely.
I could even say that this is El Toxico. I think this could be the toxic one as well.
There was a lot of games this week that fit
the toxic, right?
Well, you fit the toxic, but also fit both categories. It's like this one is toxic, and I love the other side. So that was the situation that I'll present for mine. But my Ursulita this week is going to be Miami with the points as underdogs, 4.5 point underdogs, versus the Seattle Seahawks.
I like this.
I am just so in love with everybody writing them off with this whole Tua situation.
This is listen. I'm proud of you, bro.
Thank you.
This is a pick that when we first met, you would never, ever even consider, let alone make it a pick for you. Round of applause.
Round of applause. Round of applause for George.
Yeah,
I did go on a huge rant.
With a tear in my eye.
Bro.
You've grown up, bro.
I'm going to be honest. It's like when you see seeing speed on an NFL field is like seeing a babe at this fucking Encore Beach Club you got here walking down. It looks nice. It's right. And that's why I love Miami here. Plus 4.5. Seattle has a shit ton of injuries on the defensive side. Kenneth Walker, doubtful. Does he come in and play? I think, like I've stated before, this Miami team is capable of doing things with or without Tua. I love them this week. But it's ugly because Tua's not there.
And look at headline. Dolphins -2, now plus 4.5. They're telling you that it's a 6.5 point swing Tua to Skylar Thompson. Remember, Skylar Thompson started a playoff game for them, and he covered. He covered against the Steelers that time. I remember that shit. So, yeah, hell of a pick, bro. I just love that you saw it, man. And and even the fans. Dude, sometimes when fans will be like, yo, Panthers should be Ursulita again. But, they've scarred us. But I just like that sometimes that's a concept of Ursulita. It's a gross pick. No one is picking it.
Yeah.
It sucks. You're going to feel like an asshole when it loses. Because that's how I felt the first 2 weeks with the Panthers.
Yep.
So that's the concept of Ursulita. It's like, man, I'm holding this ticket at the sports book and I'm watching the game, and I feel like such a douche that I'm holding this ticket because everyone else is on the other side.
Yeah,
so that's what Ursulita is. Okay.
It's a ticket you go in and you cash, and the bookmaker's like, look at this bitch.
Listen, to tie into the Panthers, my toxic one this week, it's the Raiders -5.5. Like I've said, the toxic one doesn't mean that we're playing the Panthers plus 5.5. No.
Correct.
Because I haven't played the Cardinals, and I didn't play the Falcons on Monday Night Football. So we're 2-0 here on this, but we're not considering these picks. Sometimes the best bet you make, George, is the one you don't make.
Yep.
And I think I would just be very careful because Raiders, it's the home opener. They're coming off a massive win where they came back against the Ravens, flying back to the West Coast. Carolina just benched their quarterback. Who knows? Maybe the Panthers strongly dislike Bryce Young, the players that is. And now they're like, yo, we got Andy Dalton.
They're like, finally.
Good, right? Yeah, we have an upgrade. So I'm not saying to play the Panthers, but there's no way I would play the Raiders in this spot -5.5. So that's my toxic one.
I like that toxic pick because, I mean, out of all weeks to buy into the Carolina Panthers, isn't it nuts that we've talked about them as much as we have in these first couple of weeks? It's good because there will be no need to talk about them after this week. That one's scary. For my toxic one, though, it's a side that the public is taking heavy and the sharps are taking. A lot of the money is coming in on the Chargers +1.5. They're at the Steelers. I don't like this spot for them at all. That Steelers defense is legit, but as we know, that offense definitely has its hiccups. I see this as a field goal fest. To be honest, Nick, this is my favorite game of the weekend to watch because I'm really unsure about how good the Chargers are, and I want to see that run game versus the Steelers. And I really think this is a prove-it game for Justin Fields where he can honestly buy himself security for another 3 weeks. If he starts 3-0, even if he loses the next 3 games, that means that Justin Fields will have been the starting quarterback for 6 weeks this season after week 1 being announced that Russell Wilson was going to be the starting quarterback. This game there's a lot that goes behind these teams' trajectories for the rest of the year. But I saw all this money and all the bets going on the Chargers. Why not avoid this one at all costs? The Steelers are better than people think.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it, man. I like it a lot. And you kind of fuck with these unders.
I do.
That's another professional take by you, bro.
Yeah, it's something that I hate. And if I hate it, I should probably fall in love with that bet. And I do the same thing in the UFC with betting the fight to go the distance. Hasn't been that profitable lately. Haven't also been betting it lately. It would have actually been profitable this past week. But that's my Adriana Lima pick of the week is the under for this game. Chargers at Steelers under 36 points. My God. Is this just going to be an ugly game? But it's my favorite pick. It's one of those weird conundrums where Adriana is so hot, but she's getting dirty in this game.
Yeah,
Adriana Lima's getting dirty in this game.
She's getting dirty. Dirty shit. Can I give you a dirty play?
Yeah, bro. Hit me with yours.
Okay. I mean, it's not really dirty, but my Adriana is Browns -6.5. They're playing the New York Giants. They're at home. I think Myles Garrett might break the single game sack record in this one. I think the defense is going to absolutely just destroy Daniel Jones in this offense. I think there's ways that they could scheme Neighbors out. Fun fact, Malik Neighbors, top 5 in the league in receiving yards. He's probably going to get 300 targets this year because no one else is getting targets.
I know. Did you like my Instagram story post today?
Yeah, that was good. I like that. Shouts to Dom, man. I told you guys.
I realized, Dom, there's no way that he could repost that.
He can't. No.
No, I realized that after I posted it, I was like, oh, shit, bro. No, he works for them.
Yeah. Dom. Shouts to Dom, man. Yeah. Dom, for those that don't know, Dom Mazzola, if you see him on the Instagram feed, he edits all the clips that you guys see. Started as an intern for the show, graduated from St. John's with working and helping out the show, proceeded to now work with the New York Giants. So shouts to him, man. I appreciate that dude. Love that dude. And he helps out a lot. So it's cool to see that, use the show as a platform to better yourself. And he's still on on the team with us. But yeah, he can't post nothing though. He
Yeah.
and he'll text me and be like, "Yeah, I want to post this, but I can't." So shouts to Dom, man. Yeah, but yeah, I'm going Browns minus 6.5. Trust in Lamb. It was my Monday winner. Eagles plus 1.5. They're playing the Saints. I think that tells you a lot about both teams. Like we said, we kind of did a game breakdown on that before. It's going to say a lot about both teams, man. If the Saints win this game, you could take them very, very seriously. I think if you think the Saints win this game, I would say take some futures on them before. Because if they win this game, I guarantee you Super Bowl odds, conference odds, cut in half.
Crazy.
They're going to get cut in half. Because then you're looking at it as, well, we thought the Cowboys were going to be good. They're flawed. We thought the Eagles were going to be good. They're flawed. And they beat both of them. And then, we're going to have to go back to the preview show last year and take those 13-4 clips and be like, no, we were just foreshadowing this year, bro.
Look how smart we are.
We were
right?
just ahead of our time. We did
Dennis
this before you
Allen's
guys.
such a good coach.
Such a good coach. Derek Carr bounced back. So I'm going with the trust and Lamb plus 1.5. And again, the line moved 6 points after this game, the most of any game through the first 3 weeks. And this doesn't include any injuries. This includes injuries.
Yeah.
So like 6.5 point swing.
Yeah. I chose a game for this pick as well that had a big line movement, and it's the Rams versus Niners. This obviously the line moved because of the Cooper Kupp injury. And when you look at the roster for the Rams, you will quickly realize that you know absolutely nobody. But trust in me here. The Rams plus 7 versus the Niners just shouts like this is why Sean McVay is going to go down as one of the greater, coaches to have ever coached the game. I just don't see them like not backdoor covering this. 7 points against a division opponent when the 49ers have every reason this game. Why shouldn't they be 10-point favorites? That it's the overreaction from the Vikings, right? You know that if this game was played 4 weeks from now, I would even say, dude, it might be 13.5. I'm taking advantage of the overreaction. I know it moved from 3.5 up to 7, but I don't know. I don't see a world where a backdoor cover doesn't come into play here. I like it.
Well, remember, this was the iconic game last year where he kicked the field goal to cover, and then people were like,
I took that side, bro.
Yeah, people were really pissed off.
I lucked out.
And he said something that people didn't know, and I didn't know this at the time. He said, if one of the tiebreakers is most points, he's like, I'm going to take the points there. But it just happened to coincide with the point spread being 10.5, and I think it made it 10.
Right.
And that's where people are like, little fishy. Do you know what happened? Did you notice what happened for the Monday Night Football game with AJ Brown?
No. I got to go back and watch the highlights.
So they ruled him out Sunday afternoon, like around halftime of the afternoon slate.
Mm-hmm.
And bro, I would bet money it's the NFL saying, hey, primetime games especially, we can't wait until an hour before kickoff. You saw what just happened with this McCaffrey shit. Because AJ Brown was kind of questionable going into Monday Night Football, and they announced it the day before, which is rare. Like usually you'll get the inactives an hour and a half before, and that's where people lost their mind. Bro, I would bet a large amount of money that the NFL was like, hey man, we're not doing this no more. We got way too much backlash. People think our shit is rigged. You see all these videos of, the NFL is considered entertainment. That's why they could do this, and that's why they could do that. Again, I don't think sports are rigged, because we know a lot of people in this space that would be able to tell us, right? We had Bill Krakenberger, one of the greatest sports bettors ever in the NFL. He's like, I would know, bro. It's not rigged. I would know if that was the case after all these years being here.
Yep.
And I found that interesting, man. I was like, oh, they never do this. Maybe they'll do it like Monday morning, but they did this during Red Zone. Yeah, AJ Brown will be out tomorrow. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Also, last thing on this one, Sean McVay, 5-10 against the spread versus the 49ers in his career. Remember, they had lost like 9 straight games to the Niners, and then he ended up beating him in the NFC title game to go to the Super Bowl. So there's always a little rivalry between them because those guys are good friends, and they were from the Washington staff.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to throw a little wrinkle in this economy.
Okay.
I'm going to give a prop
It can be a prop, Nick.
You cool with that?
I'm fine with it being a prop.
All right. I fucking love this prop. Derrick Henry to score a touchdown this week, -125.
Okay.
They're playing the Dallas Cowboys. He has scored a touchdown in his first 2 games with the Baltimore Ravens. Apparently, this offseason, you know who he really wanted to play for?
The Cowboys?
The Dallas Cowboys. You know who didn't even call him?
The Cowboys?
You know who is definitely scoring a touchdown this weekend?
Ezekiel Elliott.
No. maybe. But
No,
Derrick Henry
He's going to go off.
at -125. And there's this thing in sports betting that's become really popular. It's called the ladder. Have you ever heard of this?
No. Explain it.
So you bet him to score a touchdown, then you bet him to score 2 touchdowns, and then you bet him to score 3 touchdowns. So it's a ladder. If he hits 1, then he hits 2.
You get all the way up the ladder.
You get all the way up the ladder. 25-1 odds, plus 2,500. Derrick Henry to score 3 touchdowns. And I think the breakout game you've been talking about with Derrick Henry, I think this is a December 2021 Derrick Henry Titans game. He gets 30-plus touches. As long as they're winning and they're playing with a lead.
Yeah, I know. That's the big thing.
That's the big thing because he is a complete non-factor. But in this economy, -125, Derrick Henry, lock it up. I don't use the L word.
The ladder.
I don't use the L word a lot. But this might be a lock.
Wow.
Yeah.
At least 2 ways up the ladder.
Yeah.
3, you can't say a lock, but I would almost consider the first 2. I'm going to hit you within this economy. I'm going to go against your Adriana Lima pick, dude. Give me the Giants money line at the Browns.
Wow.
It's a pick that when you look at the slate, I am going to go against everything that I was trying to back Deshaun Watson up with earlier. The critics are getting to Deshaun's head. Daniel Jones will win the quarterback matchup. I like the way Devin Singletary is repping 26. It is definitely a fuck you to Saquon Barkley. Tell me it's not.
Yep.
I think this is just a game where the Giants, they shock people. And at plus 240 against a team that nobody will really expect it, this could kind of be considered like a trap game for the Browns. Give me the Giants.
Ballsy.
Give me the Giants.
Ballsy for sure.
Yeah.
Let's finish the show with our anytime TD score parlay. Give me 2.
I like Devon Achane from the Miami Dolphins at plus 125. And then my somewhat long shot, but I just figure we got to get this rookie going. Keon Coleman of the Buffalo Bills at plus 275 this week. Expect them both to get in the end zone. What are your obviously you have Derrick Henry.
Well, I'm going to do something different for this one. I know I told you it needs to be a 4-leg parlay, but it's going to require 4 touchdowns, however, from 3 players. So let's go Coleman.
Okay.
Let's go Achane. And let's go Derrick Henry to score 2. 40-1 odds.
Wow.
40-1 odds. I'm going with that. That's the anytime parlay. Achane from the Dolphins, Keon Coleman from the Bills, and Derrick Henry to score 2 touchdowns plus 4,000. That is 40-1 odds. 100 American dollars wins you 4,000 American dollars and about 25 pairs of Jordans, if that hits. That's the parlay.
You figure it'd be more Jordans.
Nah, I'm saying like you buy them retail at about $150 a piece, maybe $160 with the tax. Let's just say 200. Right. Yeah, about
You're
20. Right. Nah. That's the parlay, baby. That's
Lock
the parlay. Rate, review, subscribe. Shout out to all of you listening to the show. Shout out to George. Shout out to the
Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Jory.
Got the A team in there.
Shout out to Isaiah
and Jory. Shout out to the win. Nice scenery here.
Yeah, I was about to say, dude, you got to go find the mom.
I know, yeah.
Seal the deal with her and the daughter,
that's the first.
That's gonna be nice. That I mean, bro.
Good.
I mean, let's talk about bucket list items that
listen,
probably.
I'll be honest, bro. White girl, I'm not into that much. I got the vibe that she's a white girl, and that's not my thing, you know. Can't do it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. You went to Columbia. Little Latinas are on the brain.
Latina's been on the brain since like 96.
Yeah, they love little gringos like you that just don't know a lick of Spanish.
Oh, God. The podcast is about to take a turn, so let's wrap it up. At Nick Day is 10 as you can find me. All Things Veterans Minimum is where you can find the show. George, where can they find you?
At Mr. George Carmona is where you could find me. Noon p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Auburn versus Arkansas. Watch it. See ya. Later, motherfuckers.
In his element, I'm a gold medalist, bronze like your medal is. So many deer in headlights, but it's bedtime. Hear that supper bell, main course be the venison.
Dab. Most dangerous game. Either kill or be killed.